The tightest part of that rotation in the next scan, if I could interpolate, maybe another few blocks north on Carolina Beach, perhaps near Greenfield Lake, and then farther to the northwest. Everything is progressing, as you said, Eric, 35 to 40 miles an hour.
So this is heading right to downtown Wilmington the way it's tracking right now. So again, we cannot emphasize enough how important it is to be in your safe place.
Right, so the green that you see there, that's wind's moving toward the radar site. The red is moving away. So when those kind of, come together and kind of twist a little bit or come close together, that's where we see that indication of a little couplet or rotation being indicated.
And let's remind folks, what time is that tornado warning in effect to?
2:15.
2:15.
I'm going to zoom out just to see if I see any rotation anywhere else.
And this has been the theme tonight. We will see several of these couplets, all over the area.
I'm seeing rotation offshore too. That's generally moving in a northwesterly direction.
This has kind of been the whole setup the entire evening.
I'm seeing more rotation near St. Helena too, kind of south of Burgaw.
Yep, I see that.
A lot of these couplets out there at this hour, this rain band has just been vicious in terms of couplets and rainfall rates. And again, we're talking about tornadoes, but we got to remember during all this is a multifaceted disaster. We're talking about the tornado threat. We got rainfall rates out there 2, 3, even 4 inches per hour over the same areas, exacerbating an already deadly flooding situation. We have so many balls in the court right now.
Okay guys, if you're just joining us, we're sheltered in place right now. We're safe. We're still giving you your tornado warning. Again, if you guys could read off some of the towns, this is till 2:15 a.m. We're seeing radar indicated tornado warning, so there's not a confirmed tornado right now. Jess, if you can read out some of the towns.
Yeah, I just got that up. So Wilmington included. It's coming down Carolina Beach towards Wilmington right now. Leland, if you're in any of those areas.
Navassa.
Navassa, Hyattsville, Wrightsboro, Wilmington International Airport, Myrtle Grove, Silver Lake, Masonboro, Seagate, Belleville, Navassa. These are all areas. Make sure that you are in the central part of your home, a safe space, away from windows. Cover your head. Make sure if you have a helmet, maybe put that on as well. Just make sure that you guys stay safe during this. Get to the interior part of your home, like I mentioned before. This storm is moving northwest around 30 miles per hour. So right now I'm trying to check on the latest velocity scan. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of right down downtown Wilmington right now, and then right to the east of Belleville as well.
Perhaps over the river. What we've done is because we analyze that we're sort of on the southern side of the danger has passed to our north in terms of that area of most significant rotation.
They just tightened the warning too.
Yeah, and Kelly mentioned they tightened up the warning,
so we're out.
Yeah, so we moved back into the studio.
But Belleville, Leland, Navassa, you guys should still be in your safe place right now. You're still in that warning. Wilmington is still in that, portions of Wilmington are still in that warning. It has passed to the north of us though, so we're good for right now.
Yeah, we're safe. Leland, though, is still very much in the path of possible circulation at 2:13 arrival. So Leland, we'll make sure you're in a safe place right now, interior room, and if the circulation is able to hold together, I'm trying to see, you think it looks like it's kind of holding its own, maybe not strengthening, but not really doing a lot better.
The last couple of scans, that's a perfect way to put it, holding its own. I feel like it was the tightest couplet or tightest signature of rotation when it was on Carolina Beach Road near Silver Lake and Echo Farms. But still, as you've seen all night, Eric, and these situations play out, these areas of rotation can loosen up briefly and then at a moment's notice tighten back up and produce a funnel cloud or tornado. So caution is of the utmost right now.
Not seeing anything obvious on the coalition coefficient, so I guess that's a good thing. We did, with one of the earlier tornado warnings tonight, we had a confirmed tornado.
Hey guys, I'm also seeing some rotation kind of south of the ball too.
Yeah, a lot of these couplets. Just to reset here, let's go ahead and show everybody the tornado warning. It looks like it's been updated a little bit here. We can zoom in a little bit here just to show you areas that are still in play in terms of potential impacts from this tornado warning. We're going to go ahead and zoom on in here, and you can see that Wilmington, downtown Wilmington, is still very much in this tornado warning, and then across the Cape Fear River over onto the other side, Navassa in place, certainly Easy Hill over towards the Leland area, and again, just the couplet on this storm seems to be holding its own at this point. I would see no reason at this point that the National Weather Service would
If you're just joining us, we're covering an active tornado warning that is continuing for Brunswick and New Hanover counties in North Carolina until 2:15. We have a report of a possible tornado in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina. Let's switch back over to TV station WECT TV, Channel 6 there in Wilmington for the very latest.
Would prompt a warning as it gets
Yes.
closer to shore. So that's a very good point. The area of rotation that we continue to watch under the current warning that has another 9 minutes to go unless it's canceled early. It is a broad area of rotation here as we're broadcasting on our Facebook stream as well. I would say the closest couplet of inbound and outbound velocity is near the junction of 133 and 17. So think about that. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so you can, you want to draw that up?
I can draw it, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do
so
that.
we can draw that up for the viewers as well. But that would be the Leland, Belleville, Navassa exit. And of course, you know, you can go south on 133 to South Port Oak Island. If that's in your area, just north of there, perhaps the middle school, Lincoln Elementary School, not far from there, the whole thing trending to the northwest. We just got a new scan as you were drawing that, Eric. So we're getting new scans every 90 to 120 seconds, pretty good. Let's clear that if you would. And the area of rotation seems to be broadening up just a little bit. Latest from the National Weather Service in Wilmington, though, is that they're continuing the tornado warning for a radar-indicated tornado until 2:15. No other warnings in place across the area right now. So the area you want to shelter most would be Leland, especially the east side of Leland, toward Navassa. Next couple of minutes, interior room, as many walls between you and the outside of your structure as possible.
You see anything, Kelly?
I'm looking at our share product too.
Yep. And you probably want to keep an eye again on that cell off of,
Up in Pender County?
yeah, also the cell coming in from the southern New Hanover County potentially here. A lot of rotation in that particular spot. What was the other one? You had one.
The Pender west of
Yeah,
Virgo.
let's take a look at that. What do you see on that one there again?
Yeah, let's predicated on the notion that all this is moving into the northwest. This is not an officially tornado-warned storm, but you want to be ready at a moment's notice. Community of Costin and Ward's Corner as well. We'll see if that produces an official warning. These are all areas we're just kind of trying to see around the corner, trying to see rotation in its infancy before it tightens up. And our friends at the National Weather Service are doing the same thing.
And these things, sometimes they don't look so bad, and boy, they tighten up really quick sometimes. They can also loosen up fairly quick, but boy, it really is a situation. This thing, they can tighten up very quickly. You can have a tornadic storm in a big hurry.
Just panning around, just kind of looking on our in-house velocity product right here. New scan at 2:08. Eric, what are you seeing there? Looks like the rotation hasn't really tightened up.
No, I don't think so.
The warning area relative to
It's
west.
just expired.
Expired.
It's
Doesn't have
expired,
that.
okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. All right, so
So we can take the tornado warning. So let's go ahead and reset the map here just to show everybody. As of right now, at the moment, now again this can change on short notice, but at the moment, the tornado warning has just expired. Even though we have a project, so maybe we will wait for it.
yeah, just let's get back to the radar. I would
Let's
say
get back to the radar. Yeah,
maybe
usually they pull things a little quicker, but yeah, we'll go ahead and definitely do that.
safe to say
Max
no tornado warnings in place.
Let's go to max 2 actually, if we could.
There we go.
Okay.
So Dan and I just coming on here this morning about 2 o'clock, and boy, you know, being the last 5-6 hours, and even beyond that, our phones going off the WECT weather app alerting us to these tornado warnings. So obviously this is nothing new. Even the rotation we saw yesterday, late yesterday morning, early afternoon, this trend continuing really is just, as Florence, just crawling still at this point. So this threat continuing with us, of course, and being the fact that it's night, compounding to an already dangerous situation, isn't it?
Well said. And I think that these warnings are out of the necessary caution that they demanded. Because you may say, well, we have one confirmed tornado out of a plethora of warnings, but that just shows you how these things do occasionally produce. And you never know when these signatures on radar are going to do that, especially in such a dynamic situation like a tropical rain band. Things can change on a dime, and we here in the First Alert Forecast Center and our friends and partners at the National Weather Service are trying to stay ahead of those critical changes.
All right, if we zoom out too, guys, we still got lots of this too working in off the waters, which I think you guys are going to have the same kind of issues too moving forward through the
Kelly,
rest
one
of the
thing
year.
that was interesting earlier tonight, we were noticing a lot of lightning. I've never seen as much lightning in the tropical system. These rain bands are producing lots and lots of lightning, something you don't normally see. At least with the rain. Are they still producing lightning stuff?
Oh, yeah.
A couple strikes, yeah, at
Yeah.
least.
We noticed a few of those on the way in. There are a temporary shelter that's been set up for us since we're not staying at the station anymore. Just down the road here, and it was coming down in sheets, but lightning flashes like crazy out there. So yeah, just unbelievable. I certainly in my career have not seen anything quite like this.
All right, guys. Well, if you're just joining us, all of our tornado warnings are expired right now. But of course, we'll continue to closely monitor radar velocities. You got the whole First Alert weather team here right now. We're completely.
Everybody.
We've had a very long afternoon and evening, and I think this is going to continue. You can see the bands, stretching still offshore, off the waters, and it's just continuing to funnel in on the backside of Florence.
Well, guys, I think this will signal and herald a shift change here. I don't have anyone talking in my ear right now. I don't have an earpiece. So.
Yeah, because I think they have it over across the way in the digital studio.
Okay, but
So what I can do, I right now am on, and I will show you the device that I'm on.
Yeah, I'll take it away.
Let's see, the courtyard, or the regular news IFB. So we'll go ahead and
change
kind
the
of
shift.
change out here.
Yes.
But we'll wait for the folks in the digital studio to be ready to go, so we have stuff to talk about. Again, this is a very volatile situation as far as rotation goes, so you need to exercise extreme caution tonight. Be ready if another warning is issued to get ready to move to your safe place. We're going to throw it back over to the digital studio. Oh, you want to say
Oh,
something?
just saying, even though a tornado warning expires, everybody's still under a flash flood warning.
Yes.
Or some kind of flood
The
bulletin. So
tornado
that's,
watch has been extended to 7 a.m. this morning.
Okay, there you go. So tornado watch extended until 7 a.m. this morning. So again, this threat far from over. All the warning threats far from over. Again, this is an erroneous warning there, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and throw it to the digital studio. I believe Kim and I think Scott also in the digital studio. We'll keep this lower up here for a little bit, but we'll throw it over to the digital studio now, guys.
All right, welcome back. Busy morning, evening,
That's
night?
how well you could describe it. We are. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we were just going to talk about. You know,
Sorry.
it's a really interesting situation we have here. Is we were talking about this a little earlier. Is everybody is doing their best to help, and so that's great. And Gabby, who's fantastic and has done a lot of work over the last few days in a number of different things. Whatever we've asked, she's jumped in and basically stole your line, so to speak.
She did, and she's a great help. Everybody's a great help. So we have people feeding us information from different places so that we can be able to broadcast it and put it out there to everybody. And what she brought up was the fact that the public information hotline is experiencing an interruption. Let's see, calls to the hotline may be experiencing a busy signal due to a system interruption. So that's the number that we told you about a few minutes ago, that if you had questions, non-emergency questions about the hurricane, situations, maybe damage questions, any questions you really had, that was the number that you were going to call for that kind of public information. They want to make it clear, though, that the 911 center is operational, but we need to make sure you understand that is just for emergencies. We have had law enforcement, Ben David, the district attorney, even reaching out saying they're getting overwhelmed, and they're getting overwhelmed with calls that just are not emergencies, you know.
Yeah, and I know it's a very subjective thing. It may seem like a dire situation, but at its base, if you consider it to be life-threatening, then that's when you would call 911.
Yes.
I know there may be different interpretations of that. New Hanover County took the proactive approach of setting up the hotline number, and we talked about that just moments ago. That right now is getting so many calls, it appears, that there's a service interruption, and that's to be expected. We've had a night full of tornado warnings coming after a day full of high winds and heavy rain after a day full of a hurricane landing in Wrightsville Beach. So it's been a very busy weekend, and so that's understood that people are going to have a lot of questions. So they set up that hotline. The hotline right now is having service interruption. Does not mean the calls go to 911. If it's truly life-threatening, that goes to 911.
Exactly, and if you do need that phone number, we can give it to you once again. It's on the screen right now, but it's 910-798-6800. 910-798-6800. We've tried to put this in several different places as well for you on our Facebook page, on our website, everywhere that you have it. But again, there are some interruptions right now, so you may have to call back a little bit later. And we'll update you if that changes, you know, at some point, and they get things working better again. But they've also done a media line, which has been very helpful. They've had their challenges as well, having to move people from Trask Middle School to the new central location because of leaks. I can tell you that the government centers got leaks. That's what they told me when I called the media line earlier. So a lot of folks dealing with the exact same thing, just so much water on top of these buildings. We have leaks in this building, and it really shows you the power of what's going on right now, and the damage that we're going to see.
Now, these are extraordinary circumstances, and so you prepare the best you can for the worst case scenario and pray for the best. And what happens in these situations is things change. You expect the school is going to be available for a shelter, something may happen, and you have to move resources and move people around, and it's all for the greater public safety. Our first responders doing a fantastic job. They're not even near the end of this, and there's a lot more ahead. But there's been a lot of great preparation and work to get us to this point. And so moving around people, keeping them safe, getting them to a location where they can have some power, a roof over their head, it has been a great effort. But yes, there are going to be bumps in the road, and this is one of those with the New Hanover County hotline. So again, do your best to be patient, get through this situation, and only call 911 if it's truly
a true emergency. Exactly. And I know there are places too where you can report your power outage, if you've got other issues. They set all those numbers up ahead of time as well. And the planning that went into this, and I had asked the governor this when we had him on the phone yesterday or the day before or something. Did he feel that it was a different preparation process with this storm as compared to others? And he said, we've learned. We've learned from other storms, and not just storms here in North Carolina. Other storms, especially Katrina, other huge storms.
Harvey and Irma last year,
and even Matthew. They've learned about, they've learned how to better prepare for this, not only before, but after, because they already got, you know, food in place to be able to be shipped to our area, 60,000, I don't know if they're MREs, but prepared food for folks for 60,000 people for like 4 days or something, I think is what I heard. So that's great. Hopefully that makes people feel a little bit better.
Yeah, the really interesting thing about the world we live in now is that it's all a small world. And we have heard from people from Houston a lot this week who've said, I went through this just last year, a very similar situation with the constant rain and the flooding. And I think you pulled up a graphic or shared with the newsroom from 6 o'clock this evening of rainfall totals.
Yeah, I can try
which
to
is
find that. Yeah,
certainly been more enhanced since that point, because that was 6 o'clock. We're now at 2:20, so we're talking probably several more inches of rain than that. But I think at that point it was 14 inches of rain in Wilmington. There were other areas with plenty other inches of rain. But this is a heavy flooding situation that we're dealing with here. That's what they went through in Houston, and so the folks in Houston said, here's what I learned, here are the best case or the best practices out of that, and shared that. And so with each and every disaster, unfortunately we have them, but we can learn and we can better prepare ourselves for better outcomes.
These numbers are unbelievable. As of 6 o'clock, Wilmington, 14 inches.
Yeah, certainly improved
Almost 14
since
and a
then,
half.
yeah.
Swansboro, 30 inches of rain. You still say, wow, but we were told that this was going to happen.
This was the
But
expectation.
it still doesn't. You just never know what it's going to do, and which is why everyone was told to evacuate, leave town, because of something like this. People are saying they weren't expecting flooding in some areas, and that's because sometimes you just don't know, you know.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned Matthew as well. We had devastating flooding just a couple of years ago with Hurricane Matthew, and I remember what we learned out of that, hearing from then Governor Pat McCrory, is he talked about just that flooding on the back end was eye-opening for him.
Mm-hmm.
The storm passed, everybody thought they were in the clear, relatively. You knew it was going to still play itself out, but just that devastating flooding that came in day 2, 3, 4, 5, and beyond for areas like Fair Bluff that have been well documented over the last couple of years. Those areas are about to get that again because of the historic flooding that's going to take place along some of those areas. Again, and even worse than it was in Matthew.
Oh yeah, Bolivia's at 10 inches. What am I looking for here? Let's see.
Well, pretty much all
Elizabethtown,
over our
20
areas at
inches.
double digits.
Yeah. It's still hard to fathom. All right, we can show you some of the flooding as well. Our crews have been out and about throughout the day for the last couple of days, trying to document everything they possibly can. And this is some flooding from the Charlotte area.
Yeah, we have a couple of crews down there right now, and the water came up on them fairly quickly yesterday. They were safe. They were, on a platform, but it was impressive as that water rose.
Well, I remember they were
yesterday.
trying to go to Southport and they had to turn around because it was blocked, and then Southport basically shut down and wouldn't let anybody come into town after that because of the roads being impassable.
And that's the way we've tried to approach our coverage of the storm. We were talking about that a little bit before we had to take shelter in the last tornado warning, is we did not want to get people stuck. We wanted them in a safe area as much as possible to observe, document this historic events for people to try to help.
But even they were limited.
Yes, yeah, it limited them to their movement, but it was such a dynamic situation that was changing throughout the night that we had to pull people back in different areas. In that situation yesterday, I think that was with Ben or Alex, had to turn around.
Yeah, she turned around and she started heading toward the Charlotte River, if I remember, because of the fact that they needed to go somewhere else. And I think at the time they were told that the river was very high there.
Yeah, we're going to see these situations play out over the next several days as well.
Yeah.
This is far from over.
All right, this is a business in Charlotte, but we have some other video that we can share with you. New Center Drive. I cannot tell you how long this road has flooded. It has always been a problem.
Sure, and it's one of those almost cliche moments at this time. Whenever you have a hard rain, people always say, well, what does it look like on New Center?
New Center Drive.
It's always going to be high.
Oh,
it's
gosh,
knee-high.
walk through it,
More than
yeah.
knee-high. They're almost covering up the fire hydrant. But that's the tough situation.
Scary.
Now, that could have been a parked car, but our observers who were in that area saw people just drive into that yesterday.
There you
And I
go
don't
right
know
now.
how many times you tell them it's not worth it.
Do not do that. It doesn't take much rain to move a vehicle, a person. It just is not a good idea. You saw people walking through it too. All right, we've also got some video from the Lumberton area that we can show you, and it looks the same. Really, you know, the water coming almost up to the very engine of that car there.
And that's one of the things that we're going to have to keep in mind as this week progresses. Remember in Matthew a couple of years ago, 74 was shut down for what, 2 weeks? And we had a hard time getting people back. I had several friends texting and seeing if I knew back roads in the Lumberton area to try to get around certain areas, and I'm not that familiar with Robeson County, and so I had to learn the best I could. But I remember some of those detours were hours in length. And so if you are part of the group that evacuated, that's something you're going to have to think about. Right now, 40 is closed in Warsaw area, both directions, until Monday morning at the least. So folks waking up today in Raleigh and other areas that say, hey, I'm going to try to get back, 40 is not an option.
Yeah, they can't come back yet. My parents, one of the reasons they did not want to evacuate was because during Floyd, they could not come back.
Yeah.
And I finally convinced them, because they live in Hubert on a creek near the water. Well, the creek is water, but near a waterway. And they finally did evacuate. You know, it's nerve-wracking.
It is.
They were worried about coming back. And now, at first he said, when I talked to them the other day, maybe Saturday, and I said, absolutely not. You cannot come back yet. And then I talked to him today, and he said, yeah, we're hoping maybe Tuesday. So it's not a good idea to try to come back.
I know it's nerve-wracking. I know the kids may be bored. You just feel like you're twiddling your thumbs or you know, biding your time until you come back, but it's just time you're losing.
Yeah.
Commerce is going to be limited here. There are not many places open. Schools are out. Life as we know it is going to be on pause for at least the next couple of weeks.
You're right, it is.
And so we'll get you back here. You know, it's gonna be a process, and so you just have to keep thinking about that. It's not worth driving into 40, thinking you can make it. Maybe I'm the one who's gonna make it. No, it's shut down right now until Monday morning.
Yeah.
If you do some back roads, who knows where you're gonna end up and how long it's gonna take you to get back, and the potential dangers of a side road.
Right, and then you're left with turning around and going, okay, I don't want to go all the way back to where I was, and now I have to find a place to stay, which that can be challenging and as well. So, all right. Oh, great, good job. We asked our producers to try to find some of those other emergency operations center phone numbers for you, and here they are. New Hanover County, 910-798-6800. But remember that one is experiencing some difficulties right now. It's down, so you will not be able to call and get anyone to answer. But hopefully they're working to fix that, and maybe that'll change in the next few hours or by 8, by morning for normal hours, not 2:30 in the morning. All right, Pender County, your phone number, 910-259-1210. That is the number to call if you've got questions about the storm. I still want to call it a hurricane. It's not a hurricane, it's a tropical storm. But about the storm, these are information lines with people who are manning them, so they will answer the phone. It's not automated, but these are the numbers you can call. Brunswick County, your phone number is 910-253-5383. That's Brunswick County's. Columbus County is 910-640-6610. And Bladen County is 910-862-7813.
Correct. You won the eye chart
I
sweepstakes.
feel like I'm being tested on an eye chart. That's funny you said
now
that.
Cover your left eye and
Actually,
do it.
I probably could have seen better if I had done that. If I'd covered my right eye, I would have been able to see better. The screen I'm looking at is kind of far away, so that's what we're talking about. So, all right, let's get people up to speed. I don't know, Scott. I know you may be more up to speed with all of this, but I was asleep for a while, so I'm trying to figure out.
And there are so many moving parts to this situation. We've talked about that in the newsroom, is each neighborhood in our community is undergoing a dynamic situation, and there are things that are happening in there that are newsworthy and noteworthy, and we're trying to document that as much as possible.
Yeah.
There are several life-threatening and dangerous situations taking place, and so we're trying to pull that together and share that with you so you can stay informed through this storm. But one is you're looking at is that, well, unfortunately, we've had some fatalities.
The death toll has risen. The very latest, I guess, 3 people killed this afternoon, or Saturday afternoon. 2 of them were killed in Duplin County because they were swept away in their cars. 3 people, actually, this happened to. 2 outside of Kenansville, a 3rd in Carnegie, all of this in Duplin County. But this is why we tell you not to drive through those floodwaters, because unfortunately this is what can happen. They were swept away, and that's how they were killed. And then we've had the fatalities in closer to our viewing area as well, in Brunswick County and Pender County, and then one of the early ones, and just probably the saddest one I've heard so far, is the mother and infant killed here in Wilmington on Mercer Avenue. So Scott said we're trying to update this information for you as often as we possibly can on our webpage, wect.com. We've even got the school closures right there at the top for you. Most of them closed, almost all of them closed next week, except for, I think it was Columbus County. They were just closed for a couple of days.
Columbus County
Monday,
closed
Tuesday,
for 3
Wednesday.
days. Bladen County is closing on Monday right now, giving them time to assess.
Yeah.
All, again, a fluid situation, so that may change. But right now we know that Pender, New Hanover, and Brunswick are going to be out of school all next week. And the story you're touching on there is something that, frankly, we don't have as much information on as we hope to. We had a crew head out to Boiling Spring Lakes to try to get as much information as they could, but were turned away because it's just too dangerous out there. But we have heard about a dam breach.
The Sanford Dam, is that the one we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And we've been trying to get some information, but again, overnight situation, late at night, we know there's some frustration on that. That's one thing that we hope to update as soon as we can and see what that means. But that's a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, and it looks like there's a list too here for you of where the water is rapidly rising. That includes the Schlote River, Lockwood Folly, Caw Swamp near Carolina Shores, Soul Swamp near Whiteville, the Waccamaw River, Black River in Curry. Again, do not drive through floodwaters. If you see water on the road, you need to turn around and go the other way. It's really not worth it.
And that's a story. I'm sure there's several other areas where the water is rising. That one was last updated just before 10 o'clock last night, and I was talking with Emily Featherston, one of our reporters. She is doing a fantastic job of doing 1,000 things, just like Gabby right now, and we're trying to get more information to update that story in particular, because as this storm progresses, I think that's becoming the top headline, is the rising water, and what's being done about that. So that's something we're trying to emphasize that, and so the more we can update that particular story, the better. So if as soon as we can, we're going to get information in there.
Right, and I know the meteorologists have been trying to keep a close eye on those rivers and crests and how far they think they're going to crest and when and everything. Okay, sounds good. All right, we're going to give you an idea of what's going on around our region from one of our affiliates, so take a look.
13 people are dead from this storm. The latest case we heard about are 2 people from South Carolina who died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Deadly Florence slowly crawls across the Carolinas, bringing devastating flooding and relentless rain.
Powerful torrents of water are flooding homes, wiping out roads, and sweeping away cars in North Carolina.
Communities like New Bern, North Carolina are now underwater. The rivers are already rising from the record rainfall, and many waterways are not expected to reach the highest levels for another couple of days.
This is not over. All the water upstream has to come downstream. We are doing all we can.
Thousands are under new evacuation orders as people who live in these communities escape to higher ground.
The river's coming up into our property.
Yeah, we've been moving beds, linens, clothes, as much stuff as we could to get it out, you know, so we won't lose it.
We know it's time to go. It's already up in our yard.
Emergency officials say people may encounter walls of water even when Florence eventually subsides.
We're in a situation that is progressing and has us extremely concerned when it comes to the threat to life safety of citizens here in Cumberland County. We do believe that there will be a worst case scenario.
Unfortunately, we have some sad breaking news to tell you about right now. 13 people are now confirmed dead as a result of Florence in North Carolina. We're receiving word that 2 people have died of carbon monoxide poisoning as a result of the storm, so that brings the death toll now to 13 people that have died in North Carolina as a result of Florence. We're continuing to monitor water rescues that are occurring at this hour, and a dam breach that may be occurring in North Carolina at this hour, and also the possibility of further rotation that is occurring offshore that may result in additional tornado warnings. The tornado watch continues until 7 a.m. this morning for the entire southeastern area of North Carolina. But again, the breaking news at this moment at 2:38 Eastern Time that we have for you is that 13 people have died as a result of Florence. 2 additional have died as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning. Let's go back now to station WECT TV, Channel 6 in North Carolina.
Yesterday, Bill, and you were talking about some things. People would have a question. You throw that question out. Somebody else can answer it from Poland.
And
That's
I love that. I
Yeah.
love how people want to do that, and that it's okay to say, hey, as we feel like we should know everything. Hey, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I'll do my best to find out. So I love that people are patient with that too.
Sure, and that's, you know, that's why we created the Community Voice Facebook
Yep.
page to try to do that as well. We're several days into this process now. We've noticed that there's some
The
people who are
membership.
stressed. The membership has increased, but
Yes.
also the stress level
Yes.
for some people have increased. So there've been some back and forth comments from people and reporting different comments and things like that. That's unfortunate. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have somebody who likes to poke a situation and try to, you know, think they're funny and try to get some reaction out of somebody. That's not helpful to the process. We're going to remove that and as soon as possible. The ideal situation for this is that we're working together to try to get answers, and we've had several cool success stories out of that one so far.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I think, Kylie, you said weather was ready? Okay, so we've been working 12-hour shifts basically to try to keep everybody covered for 24 hours on a 24-hour basis. So you saw Eric and Kelly. You may have seen all of the Mets through these tornado warnings, but we now officially have Gannon Medwick and Gabe Ross joining us with the very latest. And got to make sure I say good morning, Gannon.
Good morning, Kim. Let's just have one piece of normalcy. And hi, Scott. Good morning. And Scott and Kelly, and Gabe and Kelly are working on some of our digital streams right now and digital products just to make sure as many I's are dotted and T's are crossed as we can with this dynamic situation. Scott used the word dynamic in each and every community. Different things are going on. We're trying to hit as many as we can. With our Max One computer system, I want to tell you about something that's new in the 2 o'clock hour. The advisory from the National Hurricane Center on Florence still analyzes it as a tropical storm. The center of it is in the Midlands of South Carolina. That doesn't help us very much here in the Cape Fear region because we're still afforded that moisture stream out of the south being as that we're on its east side. So it hasn't moved much. I would say that, you know, when I went to sleep last night, if only briefly, it was moving at about 3 miles an hour. Now it's moving 6 miles an hour. This is the likely just first seeds of an acceleration that's going to blossom over the next 24, 48 hours. The remnants of Florence move west and then northwest and then north through the Ohio Valley. And then this like a punishing band of rain can start to move on. But we're not at that process yet. And I know that's just arduous as the grind continues. We're keeping a close eye on rivers. Here's the deal with rivers. There are main stem rivers and there are small, kind of locally grown rivers. Most of them have gauges, which is a blessing. But but not all of those have modeling, so we can see, get an inkling of how high they'll get. One of the rivers that has a gauge, but not a model, is the Lockwood Folly River at 211. So we're talking about supply. So what I'm speaking with you is, I'm telling you, I'm not sure how high the river will get. I think it will get higher than it is right now, and that pains me to say, because as you look in, you're probably watching on a device, if you could zoom in, but if not, I will walk you through this. You're seeing that little bounce on the graph, up and down for a while, pre-Florence. That is natural fluctuations in tidal cycles. Then Florence begins to pile the water in a saltwater sense into the inlets and the intracoastal waterway, and then Florence also starts to dump rain on us, and the graph just spikes. If you can't see the graph, I'll walk you through it. 6 to 8 is the regular up and down oscillation. Now the river is 19.58. So I personally don't live in Supply, but I know you. And if you are there and you know that area, then that may mean something to you. So again, we're going to try to hit these as we can. There are so many fronts to fight this battle, but I just want to spend some time on the Lockwood Folly River here, if that means something to you. I don't think it's done rising based on our propensity to have these more heavy rain bands as well. So we're going to continue to monitor those rivers there. Lockwood Folly at Supply, just one of many. We want to give them as much attention as we can. How about winds? Because Florence is now a tropical storm, the wind speed kind of relaxing and uncoiling, but it's not gone completely. We still have some winds in the teens and 20s miles an hour, even 30s miles an hour in a sustained sense out of the east, and some gusts occasionally pinging the 40s miles an hour. And so in a vacuum, that's not much. That's like a breezy / windy day that we can handle. But now we are so beaten down after several days of rain and wind. What I'm trying to tell you is we could get more trees down. We could get more issues like that because trees are just so stressed. I can't guarantee more are not going to give up. So that's one reason to shelter. You know, even independent of some of these more urgent storm warnings like tornado warnings we bring you. And we'll get back to the velocity in just a minute. Of course, Kelly and Eric and Jesslyn were on that product, I feel like, all night. And Gabe and I were a couple times yesterday with that velocity product because of the tornado warnings. But right now, none in place. Okay, so we're asking our radar to look at just the rain bands, light versus heavy right now. And Wilmington Metro is fully involved. One thing, just as a programming note that I noticed, is that the scan's sweeping down from Raleigh right here. And that's been happening a time or two because we have not been afforded the luxury of consistent radar data from our home-based radar. It's called KLTX. It's in Charlotte. And then KMHX in Morehead City is the second best option. And that's been going out. Understandably so. There's so many interruptions and disruptions. So the Raleigh radar, not the best for us, but you know, it's good enough that we can see that we're still involved in these heavy tropical rain bands. And let's throw in lightning as a situation. I know Gabe and I, when we were tracking this very band in Onslow County yesterday, it was a prolific lightning producer, especially near and south of Onslow Bay. And so that whole situation has only moved from mouth of the New River to the Cape Fear River in a day. And if you think about it, The whole storm is crawling west. So that's why it is just a game of inches. And I fear that we're in this all day. Maybe the most punishing band sort of scoots a little bit to the west, but it scoot maybe invoking of a fast kind of, it just kind of slowly slog its way to the west is maybe a better way to say that. And within some of those little features there, occasionally we get some spinning. I'm going to see if I can jostle the radar to give us anything in terms of velocity. Okay, I have at least temporarily made it so we can get local velocity data. I don't know if it's going to work completely scan to scan, but you know, the kind of things we're looking at are features like this. Little areas where colors come together and they're moving northwest about 40 miles an hour. Those are little areas of rotation with the rain bands trying to tighten up within those. Here's another one. It's been a pipeline of these right up essentially Carolina Beach Road, if you want to pick like a turnpike for the whole situation. Up New Scan coming in. These aren't tight areas of rotation relative to the others that were tornado warned, but as anyone can attest who's been through tonight already, meteorologically, or if you're following our coverage, Kim and Scott, these are the types of features that can turn on a dime, scan to scan, tighten up, prompt you who are already sheltered to shelter extra and, you know, protect your head, interior most room, extra steps. Everything is scrolling at the bottom of our screen, at least on broadcast, to the extent that is operative for you. I hope it is. But bulletins including flood warnings are just going to fall like dominoes all day today. Consider yourself under a flood warning if you're anywhere within the broadcast area, guys.
All right, thanks, Gannon, for that update, and we'll be checking in with Gannon throughout the rest of the morning to keep you informed. If you're just joining us, thank you. We're continuing to track Florence and what we've seen for the better part of the night since I got here at a little after around 10:30 or so is tornado warnings, several of them back to back, impacting like thousands of people. New Hanover, Brunswick, just really impacting so many people. So we want to keep you updated with everything. So I want to share one story with you that hopefully will, I think it'll put a smile on your face. Because I've got Bill Murray joining me here as well. Good morning. I don't know if you saw this story yet, Bill, but we'll let you say good morning first.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
We woke him up.
And I'm glad that you did, and I wanted to stress this for people who are at home as we go through this next couple of days. I highlighted it just because I thought about it yesterday, but it's a completely different scenario because we lived through it. We're on day 3, day 4, depending on how you scope things out.
Yep.
For people at home as well, the first night I got 3.5 hours sleep, yesterday 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 5 hours in tonight, and I slept through this alarm.
Did you really?
Yeah, it wasn't until someone came to bang.
So we had a tornado warning here. We're in the digital studio right now. Myself and Scott Saxton,
Right.
We're in here. The meteorologists are in the studio, which is across. Oh, okay, they are evacuating Fair Bluff because the Lumber River is overflowing its bounds. Let me see if I can pull Kayla. Kaylee's Twitter page up real quick.
You have to feel for those people who have gone through so much
Oh,
already.
yeah.
And are still in the process of trying to reclaim their lives.
The Columbus County area. Am I logged in there? Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
And that's Kaylee Tracy's in
Oh,
there?
I said Kylie.
That's all right. We've got so many K names.
Kylie's my producer,
Right.
who's in my ear. Kaylee is in Columbus County. Okay, here we go. Let's take this then here for you. So Kaylee's been in Columbus County for a few days now. Here's her tweet. And this is coming from the Assistant Fire Chief of Fair Bluff. That due to areas that were flooded during Matthew, and because of what they saw through Matthew, they want folks to evacuate because the Lumber River is rising even higher. They'll transport evacuees starting Sunday at noon. So Sunday at noon, they will start evacuating Fair Bluff residents. And this is really particularly hard-hitting, as Bill said, for those folks who were flooded during Hurricane Matthew, and is also part of the reason that this is being prompted is because they saw what happened in Matthew now, and they want to be able to get folks out in time. So at around noon, they will be transporting evacuees from the Fair Bluff area. Let me read this for a second. They will transport you to a shelter if you want to evacuate and do not have transportation. You need to take bedding, necessary medications. They will do this, the evacuations from noon, then we'll stop at dark because of safety reasons. Those are all the specifics I have right now. As far as, you know, where do you go to get the transportation? Not quite sure yet, but let's see.
That transportation
Maybe
also coming 10 hours from now, so that could be developing just to get people to start to pack their things and get ready to go. And so it's not like there's information out there that we don't know to be able to pass along at this point. It could very well be that information doesn't exist. So we're trying
they may
very
still
hard.
be making decisions on all of that. So we will definitely keep in check with that as well. You know, looks like Kaylee's up right now. I think this is actually a time point where she's supposed to be sleeping, but everyone being woken up. So let's go back to what we were talking about. We'll update this again, of course, as soon as we need to.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Deb.
Deb helping out, and you know, I'm here to do roof patrol, flood patrol, you know, and to chat as well. I was surprised that I'm a very light sleeper, and but I'm exhausted. You know, I was surprised that I slept through that. Yeah.
Right. So what we were talking about is the tornado warnings that we've seen. We've evacuated our own area, building, part of the building, to other parts of the building because of tornado warnings. People are sleeping here in different parts of the building. We've got a Fox end of the building, and we have an ECT end of the building with all kinds of administrative offices and knocking on doors, yelling, getting people up, making sure we are accountable for everyone who was here and into the hallway. And so they went and knocked and woke you up and woke everyone else up. We weren't sure if the GM was here. Someone knocked on his door, didn't hear anything. I ran back down there, pounded on the door some more, found the secret doorway. No, I found a different doorway in there. He wasn't here, thank goodness. But that was, you know, a panic situation.
It is,
but
there
you
are
didn't
two
hear
things
the warning.
here. No, I didn't. I was really surprised by that because I saw where it went twice. And that's the lesson there at home, too, is we know you're tired. You know, we know you've gone through a lot, but you've also got to be very aware of the situation, that this is not a situation that has an end right now. You know, it does in the next 48 hours, but we're still, I mean, to hear it coming down, what, 50 feet from here right now?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like Niagara Falls outside right now.
And the only thing ending in 48 hours is possibly the rain, because everything else is just going to continue as far as the cleanup and the assessment. And, you know, if you think about it, crews haven't really been able to go out and take a look at a lot of damage. Towns have. I know in Carolina Beach they've been able to go out and look around a little bit. Other towns have said, we're waiting. As soon as we can get out there, we will.
They've been doing a lot in Wilmington. I did notice that. I did go downtown. I got downtown about 3 o'clock. It took a long time to get there. And they were evacuating the Cape Fear hotel apartments.
Okay.
Do you remember that apartment that's on Chestnut and 2nd, that 9-story senior high-rise? That actually had problems that I was trying to relate to, and I apologize, my memory doesn't serve me well. But they did have bricks start to fall off of that building as a facade. I don't think that was Hurricane Matthew related, but you remember that now that I say it out loud.
I do remember that now.
Because they blocked that part of the city
that,
for a while.
Yeah, I don't think that was
I don't think it was Matthew related either.
I think it was just structures in the whole building.
Right, and they had the roof compromised apparently. Water was coming in and they evacuated the whole building. And I just stumbled on that as I was walking by. They had school buses lined up to take those people who lived there somewhere else. And as the mayor said in his press conference and in speaking with us, there are an awful lot of trees down.
Oh, yeah.
Big, giant trees that are blocking the area, yeah. Big, giant trees blocking many roads, power lines down. But I was surprised at the number of people who were actually out driving around in areas that seemed to me like they were doing sightseeing more than actual, because we were also on the MLK, which was deserted. Okay, but downtown there was a lot of activity, and a lot of that was power crews that we saw, tree crews trying to remove some things. But again, with all this rain that we're having, the trees that are down now are not the trees that are going to be staying down. You know, there are many more to come down in the next several days because their root system is compromised because of this water, and I witnessed that firsthand. It's sad to see trees on people's homes. Saw a lot of that. It's eerie to see trees and water flooding in the cemetery. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just something very sombering about that.
And the thing that's scary about the tree on the home is you can't really do anything about it.
No, you can't.
To literally sit there.
You can't. I did see someone trying to do some home repairs. I don't know whether that was person doing it by themselves or they had already been able to hire somebody, and we talked to Ben David about that as well, is that when people come knocking, make sure they're insured, and they've got the proper paperwork to say, yes, I'm qualified to do this.
Don't give them money up front.
Yeah, that's a big mistake. But I did see activity downtown that I was surprised to see yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, there was a lot of folks, I think, wanting to try to get out and about, and you got to be really careful with all of that. I wanted to show the story. You were talking about the apartment building, right? Let's see if I can pop this up here. Might stall on.
Oh, there I am.
Second, this is the Cape Fear Hotel apartments you see behind me. Apparently, from what I've been told, the roof and the 9th floor compromised because of wind and rain damage, and so now they're evacuating. I just talked to a fire department official who's kind of leading the effort there. What they're doing is they're evacuating this entire building. And for people, it's a little windy, for people who are living there, obviously, this is news they weren't expecting, and they're a little frustrated.
For a window, and in my apartment, everything is flooded out in the kitchen, the living room, my bedroom, everything is gone. And then they're telling us today that we can't go back in and get none of our stuff. It took years to get that. This is all that I got here.
Downtown, Michael Murray, WECT News.
All right, thanks so much, Bill Murray.
I wanted to see how far that was. I live downtown. It was my first chance. I knew I couldn't go back home, but at least I could see the house, or see the home, which is, I get that. You went through the same thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, sigh of relief.
It was, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not so much that it was damaged and standing, it was just somewhat comforting to be able to see that, you know.
You didn't have anybody checking on yours. At least I had Bill able to text me and say, hey, this is what
Gee, thanks, Kim.
we have.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
My other Bill.
Right, I get it. And I get that at home too, where you're sitting there going, I've been away, or I want to get back. If you're watching us from far away, I realize that you want to get back. I do live on the river. A lot of people who are very concerned about their property there. We have a community Facebook page, which unfortunately I forget is there. I'm a passive member, not an active member, and was reading some of the comments about, we want to try to get back by Monday. What can you tell us? Much like we've heard. And the scenario was, as people were saying, hey, we've tried to come back. We've turned around. 40 shut down with high water, 95 shut down. We're really surprised. we've got no place to go back to now because we gave up our reservation to be able to come home, and now we're kind of stranded. So it's very frustrating, and a lot of people going through that. I understand that.
Yeah, same thing here. I've got a lot of folks asking me, and then they went ahead and hit the road, were turned around, and then they're looking for a place to stay.
Right.
Because in some cases they went 2, 3, 4 hours away, and they needed a new place to stay now. So
I understand that.
yeah, Kim Ratcliffe, Bill Murray here, sticking with you. All right, welcome back. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us here. Bill Murray and Kim Ratcliffe in our digital studio. This is we're continuing our 24-hour coverage of Florence, working on 12-hour shifts. Bill is actually supposed to be off today, and he decided that he just couldn't sleep. He got woken up because of the tornado warning.
Yeah,
so.
the tornado. They came knocking on the door twice, and they were like, "Get out!" They weren't polite. They're like, "Bill." No, they're like, "Get out! Get out! Get out!"
Well, I think at one point you were walking back, and another one, and we were yelling. You hadn't even make it back to the room yet. Come back, and then
I try sometimes inappropriately to lighten the situation with humor, and that's my defense mechanism. And as we're huddled there, we did everything that we learned to do. We were huddled there in the hallway, with our hands over our arms, and I was like, being found in my underwear at work is not how I wanted to be remembered. So, but it's very true, and it's really great to be able to see people, be who they are.
Yeah.
This has been a fascinating experience because we work with a lot of people. We know a handful of the people that we work with because we're on such a bizarre shift.
You're right.
And to see everybody kind of step up to the plate and be who they are here has been amazing. And we hope that you see that where you are as well.
I've enjoyed seeing everyone's strengths, where they want to be who they are here, and they take it and run with it.
Absolutely.
If they know they're good at something, they're going to go. I mean, I saw John Evans a minute ago helping to mop up some of the water.
Right.
And he's off right now. He's finished his 12-hour shift, should be going to sleep. Their challenge when they get off at midnight is the drive home. I got to go home yesterday for a little while during the day. The challenge for me was coming here at night. It was very scary.
We work with the new moms who have left their children at home to be able to come to provide information for you at home to keep this kind of up and running. You can understand the tears they're shedding. You can put your hand on their shoulder to say, I understand, and move on, because that's all the time you have to be able to do to make sure that everybody else is okay. And I think people understand that, it makes a difference. But I don't know the people at home necessarily understand what we're going through here just to get that information along.
Yeah, I think they're appreciative that we've gotten a lot of compliments, and that's great.
I felt bad. I was on a Facebook Live patrol yesterday. I never did that before, and I was doing my best
in the
to
studio?
be.
Yeah, you almost got my shot. I was on Facebook Live too.
I was getting roasted for fire the cameraman. He doesn't know what he's doing, etc. I was
really?
like, yeah, and the frustration is like, I'm doing the best I can.
You do a great job with your. A lot of Bill's stories he does on his cell phone and then edits them, and they're fabulous. But all right, we've got some video that we can share with you. This I didn't know about this until I came to work tonight, and it just unbelievable to me that this even happened. But there was some stores that were able to open up. Others, of course, still closed, and there was a looting incident.
Yeah, I just came back into the building from doing the downtown visual route when I saw that happened. It was crazy.
I know. Oh, it was crazy. I know that Chelsea Donovan was on the scene there, the Family Dollar. I don't remember. I'm not sure. Actually, which one it was. I thought we had some video of this that we were going to show folks.
And over here, this is the Houston Moore Complex on
this
Greenfield
is Chelsea
Street.
on the scene. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
Items left and right, looting the Family Dollar here on Greenfield Street. Can see inside just a complete mess. People taking duffel bags and trash bags. Now noticing that we're here running away from the camera. You can see people inside here, people with t-shirts over their heads coming out with bags of items. You can see these people across the street in masks. This is an ongoing situation. Looks like the police are here now. People wearing Halloween masks. Looting the Family Dollar here on Greenfield Street. Looks like people are coming out of the backside right now. All right, they're coming out the back side of the store here. This is 13th and Greenfield. We're gonna stay with this situation. Items in hand, guys. Hey guys, you know you're looting, right? You know you're stealing. Sir, you know you're looting, correct? You know that you're looting and that's illegal? You can see people coming out right now with items left and right from the store.
And you hear the alarm going off.
Just the defiance in that is what I noticed. That was the one thing that came to mind right away.
The defiance?
Yeah.
See if we can go back around front, guys. And see what's happening.
Don't
there
understand
are no
it,
folks
quite frankly.
associated with law enforcement on site.
And we don't know the backing behind the Dollar General store that's sitting on the statement saying
Family Dollar.
Family Dollar. I apologize for that. That yeah, we're not pressing charges at this time.
Yeah, from what I understand, the police, of course, were called and were told that the management said don't do anything about it. So we were actually able to catch up with the WPD. I think it was Assistant Chief Mitch Cunningham, Deputy Chief Mitch Cunningham, about the looting itself. So let's hear what he had to say.
General on 5th and Dawson Streets. We were hearing earlier that there was a person still inside that store, and Deputy Chief, you're hearing that that is no longer the case. They have been arrested?
What I can tell you is there's no one in that. If that's part of the person who was originally part of the original group, I think that might be what you're referring to.
Okay, and so, you know, back to the first incident at the Family Dollar on Greenfield Street, where we had our reporter out there getting video, watching people walk out of that store with bags full of stolen goods. You know, your officers did respond. Why was nobody arrested?
Well, they listened to the wishes of the business owner, and at that time they felt, based on the situation that they were hearing from the business owner, that they were going to just hold what they had, just take the information that they had, and then consult later with our investigators and the DA's office. So later we did that and decided we wanted to move forward. I think the message is we're taking looting very seriously, and we want to pursue every case that we can, and are going to. And of course, as you know, we've just made 5 arrests in the second incident.
Do you think your department regrets making that move and abiding by the management's wishes?
I think, as we look at it now, sure. I think they were feeling like there's a lot of calls for service. They wanted to make a decision based on what the managers' perceptions were, their interests, and as we happily had conversation with them. They want to move forward, and certainly we want to do everything we can to pursue charges against people who are doing looting.
And I asked this earlier when we talked to you, but, you know, in the future, if a store, you know, is actively being looted and they tell you that they don't want to press charges, will you not abide by those wishes and go ahead and apprehend people?
If people are looting, they're going to get arrested.
And so can you tell me anything more about the second looting situation? How long after the first situation did that happen?
I believe that was around 5:30 or so. So we've made 5 arrests. That's under investigation. So that's kind of an evolving situation right now. So we're not sure where that will take us, but we're pleased that our officers were able to make arrests upon arriving on the scene.
And you're saying there are extra officers being assigned to, you know, just patrol and respond to looting situations?
Sure. Unfortunately, people do loot even when a community is as vulnerable as it is right now. So knowing that, we had extra officers out last night. In fact, I happened to be part of the team, and in anticipation of some looting. So we were allocating officers for different purposes: traffic, answering calls for service, and looting. And we're also doing that now.
And are you adding extra officers after what happened today?
Yeah, I think we're realizing that it's going to be more of a reality than we were hoping it would be. We were hoping it wouldn't happen, even though we took measures to prepare for it. But if it's going to increase, then yes, we are reallocating. Let's put it that way, as a result of what we're finding.
And you don't want to give any specific numbers on that?
That's correct. I'd rather not, talk about our investigative methods and the strategies we're using.
We've gotten several viewer emails, comments, and questions about, watching on live TV looting happening and police not there to make any arrests. And they're wondering if their house is next, and if it is, will there be any response from police? And some people are saying, they've lost trust in the police department.
Sure.
How do you respond to that, and what do you tell those people?
Well, I'd say number one, our agency works hard all the time, and we get lots of congratulations and compliments from our citizens for the work that we do. And as you know, crime has been driven down pretty significantly the last few years based on our crime control strategies. So we've got a very effective police department, and we respond very quickly to their concerns and their needs, no matter what those are. And I think a lot of people are seeing our officers working very hard, especially in a very difficult situation. So if people do see this, please call us. And I think just based on a few hours of our efforts, we've been successful, and they will see more success as if these types of situations continue.
All right, the looting situation, we'll try to come back to that. We want to check in with Gannon Medwick once again for the very latest on weather and take a look at that radar and see if is it even moving any more quickly than it was?
Now 6.
Is it 6 miles an hour?
Yeah. So it was 3 yesterday. And I do think that is the first seeds of an acceleration that will take it up toward the Ohio Valley, but we need to happen faster than that. So we are taking your comments and your questions, and seems like over the last few minutes I've heard from our producers that you want to see the radar, so we are going to give you a radar update extensively here in the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Unfortunately, it does look a lot like it did in the top of the 2 o'clock hour. Your Carolina View shows the center of Florence, near Columbia, South Carolina, right smack dab in the Midlands. So we are firmly on the tropical moisture side of the storm. It's still a tropical storm. How is it a tropical storm when it's been over land for a couple of days, you may say? Well, because it's got the tap. It's got the tap of its energy, and unfortunately, that's being borne out over us, that little feeder coming out of the Gulf Stream and the tropical Atlantic. Let's go in for a closer look. There are some breaks, and I guess you have to just savor every break is like a small victory or silver lining, right? What else can you do? But there are some spots that continue to be congested with torrential rain. This is our latest scan. I'm heartened that at least over the last hour or so, it seems like our home-based radar, LTX in Charlotte, is transmitting and showing us good data. And so that's the most helpful situation that we could ask for. We have one feeder in Horry County, South Carolina. That is pivoting up north and west through about Dillon County, so most of that across the state line. But the one that continues to batter eastern North Carolina, I say eastern North Carolina because functionally this band, of course, it continually evolves, but this band was over Swansboro yesterday, where I saw a report that Swansboro netted more than 30 inches of rain. So this 1 to 2, locally 3 feet, for most of southeastern North Carolina, horrifyingly seems to be verifying. And it's an active process as that band just continues to focus and channel across Southport and Oak Island, north through Boiling Spring Lakes. Tremendous flooding. Any low-lying area that you know through experience that floods is flooded. Just without even being there, just you know it based on this situation. Consider that, and we mentioned this a couple days ago, that statement from the National Weather Service, sort of chilling. Areas that you have never seen flood before are likely going to flood with this event. I think it's happening based on your reports. It's happening, especially where not only do we have that concerted effort out of the onshore flow from a saltwater flooding, you know, that sort of pressing in on the water bodies, but the rainfall runoff, the tremendous rainfall flooding is focusing the water in every sense across our rivers and smaller tributaries and whatnot. And so that band continues to work up. I mentioned Boiling Spring Lakes, Belleville, Leland. You're in it now. You're in it for a while, long while. I'm sorry to say, north through Atkinson and Curry and along the Black River Basin. I've been getting questions about the Black River. Since Matthew, haven't seen much change in how that river is modeled. It is gauged, but it is not modeled. But by interpolation, just seeing the way the dominoes are horribly falling across what you see on the Northeast Cape Fear River, which is a forecast crest in record territory. We may show that in a little bit. I just got a repertoire of stuff. Yeah, we'll endeavor to show that graphically in a moment, but a record crest in the forecast for this week. Black River may do that too. So think Matthew plus in a lot of these cases. So a steady diet of the radar here, and we'll, again, continue to dip into this as time allows. We'll have that radar sort of in a double box situation like we have right now, where we may be talking about evacuations in one box and a radar in another box. So you know what to expect from us programming-wise. Let's talk about the rate of rainfall in some of this, okay? We have got rainfall rates in eastern Bladen County up to 3 to 4 inches per hour. And I expect that would be a similar situation as we sample some of this action in eastern Brunswick County. The band I'm talking about is kind of has like two prongs, but they converge on Wilmington and north and west through some of those other communities that I just mentioned. And both of them feature rainfall rates between 2, 3, and 4 inches per hour. And of course, the bad part of that situation is when those bands stay put for any appreciable amount of time. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 3 or 4 hours, racking up tremendous totals. We've asked our radar to estimate over the last 48 hours. It's just academic at this point. Most of us well north of 1.5 feet. Let's just query some of this here. Let's just say take a sample or a query of a pixel, 17, 12. That's just the last 48. 20, 14. Everybody being between that 12 to 24 baseline right now. And that's just right now. This is a continually evolving situation. What I want to do quickly is stay here, but reset my other computer so I can do something for you now. We promised to watch the rivers that maybe aren't gauged and modeled as religiously as some of the main stem, okay? Like the Shallotte, okay? We're looking at that now. If you're having trouble seeing, I'll walk you through this. Basically, this is a graph that goes from September 9th to now. And the up, down is normal tide cycles of the Shallotte River. This is specifically at Shallotte, where we've had reporters on the ground. I remember Alex Guarino and Ben Smart yesterday documenting the water rising near the bridge in downtown, okay? That's close to exactly where the gauge is, actually. When the event started, tide cycles essentially go out the window. Remember, this is independent of tide cycles. Now, the latest gauge shows a little bit of a tail off. You see how we spike and then we level off and we spike again? I feel like that little tail off may be because Shallotte proper is kind of between those most intense rain bands. Remember the one I mentioned in Horry? And I mentioned the other one set up across the eastern half of our primary coverage area. So Shallotte kind of tucked in between those right now. Maybe that relatively calmer situation, you know, that you have to savor if it's only for a moment. So there's a little level off, but the point is it's 8.78, and the river itself is fluctuating between its normal 3 up, 3 down. So we're going from 3 to 9 now, and I think there's room for it to grow. Perhaps a tide cycle helps with that cause. perhaps additional runoff, which I would say is likely. Florence has to move west, so all the action that I showed you on radar has to pivot west over places like Shallotte. Long and short of it is, this is not over, and we're watching this close for you, if you have interest in Shallotte, and also us here, you know, because we have reporters stationed there. We, of course, showed you the Lockwood Folly River a bit ago. I don't think we have any reporters near there, but we know that that may be, and supply near and dear to your heart. So we're going to try to hit as many of these as possible just to give you the latest situation. Now, we do have some rivers that are more, like I said, religiously modeled and gauged. And one of those is the Northeast Cape Fear River at Burgaw. And ever since we got into this event and river consequences started to become clearer in a modeling sense, ever since then, the forecast has been in record territory. The existing record for the Northeast Cape Fear River at Burgaw for a crest is 22.5 feet. So that Matthew Floyd style flooding plus, as you see here, with 13.3 and rising, likely crest time not till later this week. That's not to say we're not flooding now. Flood stage, if memory serves, is 10 feet at this gauge. So we're already above flood stage and trending into major flood stage. It's a record before it's done. So impacts are tremendous now. I hate to say, are only going to get worse. Lumber River at Lumberton, similar situation. We're already into significant flood. Major flood stage as a benchmark, and you see the banner there, is 13 feet. We're 17.8 feet now. 24.2 feet is the forecast crest. And this is all Matthew-esque, and then perhaps a little extra, just depending on how the rain exactly falls across the basin. There's going to be some ups and downs in the forecast, but they've all been dire. And Kim and Bill, anyone in the digital studio that we may be able to, you know, talk to? Kim, we could talk a little bit if you want. You can ask me questions you're seeing. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere in the forecast center. Okay. Is there anyone who can talk to me? Okay.
We're here. Sorry,
Mama Kim, where are you? And Bill, hey, Bill. Good morning to you. Again, let's keep it normal in that sense. We always say good morning to each other, so we have to do that. So cling to what's normal in this situation, my goodness. But if you have any questions that you see coming in, we want to talk about that. But I show you this Lumber River situation to tell you this, that they're responding downriver in Fair Bluff. Fair Bluff is one of those spots that is not, it's gauged, but it's not modeled. But we can read the writing on the wall, and they're doing that with that evacuation that you mentioned a little bit earlier.
That's actually what I was going to ask you about, or sort of talk with you about, was the fact that they've already decided, because of, I guess, what they learned from Matthew, that they want to go ahead and start getting those folks out.
Yeah. And did you say noon today?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a nice 9-hour window to allow people to kind of mentally prepare, physically prepare. To know the time to go is going to be then.
I think just something, you know, maybe you already have it as part of your hurricane plan, but if you don't, and you're in an area where you're like, am I in a flood zone? Gannon said that areas that have never flooded before may flood. If that's what's going through your mind, then maybe part of your last minute kind of preparedness, just in case, would be getting those things together. That if someone told you, if someone here at WECT told you that an official said, hey, in 6 hours, we're going to be coming by and we'll give you a chance to evacuate. What would you get that wasn't a part of your initial hurricane plan? What would you get together? Questions like that perhaps should be going through your head. What are we looking at there, Kim? I can't see from my vantage point.
That's just the tweet that Kaylee sent out about 40 minutes ago. And it shows a picture of the exact, looks like a letter from a notification from the assistant chief of the Fair Bluff Fire and Rescue Department. This is what folks were receiving as by way of word of this is what they were going to be doing. And I don't know what time they got this. So I know we said, you know, a 9-hour window, but I'm thinking that they probably sent this out, you know, earlier while folks were still for the most part awake. And Kaylee found out about it and tweeted it out. But,
hey, Gannon, I wanted to reiterate something we talked about yesterday. as I told Kim while you were doing weather, I'm a member of a community Facebook page, and forget, unfortunately, sometimes it's there. And of course, now that we're having signal problems, I'm not going to be able to call it up. But a lot of people are very concerned about when can I come home? I want to come home. They're seeing this now on the live stream, and they're like, oh, it looks bad. Or in some cases, it's not as bad as I thought. It's time to come home. And what people are saying from far away in this page is, don't. We tried to come home.
Right.
We hit water on 40, had to turn around. We tried to zigzag on 95 and got lost. And the problem is we lost our reservation because we gave it up to come home and now realize we got to turn back. And now what are we turning back to? We have no idea. So people need to, again, keep that in perspective. We're becoming a little more isolated with this water. And because of that, if you're far away, you need to take a deep breath and be grateful that you're far away at this point, because coming home is not going to be easy.
That's a great point. And we were saying this in a number of cases. One was even before the storm on Thursday morning. We were taking questions. I'm in Winston-Salem. Should I cancel my reservation now that it's down to a Cat 2? No, stop. Stop where you are. And this is the same situation.
They were honed in on that number.
They were honed in on the number.
Really,
and then now yesterday's the storm's evolving, and maybe it's inland. That's another tag that a storm gets, is when it goes inland, it still can't cause impacts because Florence went inland. But to Bill's point and to your point, Kim, still impactful in a sense that yesterday I phrased it as this: the weekend is out, and now we're on the back nine of the weekend here. And next week, or functionally tomorrow on, disruptive routes. Because so I'm thinking, you know, most of this week is out, unless you want a severe challenge of trying to pick your way through water-covered roads that well, you're not going to be able to get through them, so they're going to be closed. So it's a long-haul kind of situation. And the third thing, to your point, Bill, about us being isolated, is there's going to be resources, I think, that, you know, people are out doing the best they can to help. In 2 miles from our dry shelter where we were staying last night, Gabe and I were driving, we saw in 2 miles, we saw 12, was it about 12 bucket trucks?
Oh, at least.
At least 12 bucket trucks. So people are trying locally to deploy the resources to get some semblance of normalcy. We're trying desperately, but in terms of other resources that are trying to come in from other spots to make things normal, there's going to be some pull toward New Bern. There's going to be some pull in those resources toward Morehead City. There's going to be some pull west. It's not just us impacted by this storm. So very, very hard to ascertain when things will be okay to just sail right back into town, because it is not going to be smooth at all this week.
This isn't a game, again, I don't mean to top you, but I saw that scenario when I kind of drove through Wilmington yesterday too. Not only did we see plenty of bucket trucks and plenty of trucks, not only for power, but also trees, because there are companies designed just to do that. I saw people getting out of their cars on South College Road, a bunch of 20-something young men getting out of their cars and trucks. One person came out and then it just kind of fed on itself, pulling big trees out of the right-hand lane of South College heading towards downtown.
That's awesome.
Just to clear that out of the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice
to be able to see here. Here, you got to think.
Well, they put themselves in a
bad situation.
I said before
when
the
they
storm,
put the tree off, because we've got a water table that's fluctuating, you got to worry about that being in a place that people don't know it's down, and then it becomes a dam and makes water flow where it shouldn't be flowing.
We said before this storm in our trending article on the web, and we said it verbally as well, don't put your energy toward anxiety. The best you can, put it toward positive action. And that is an awesome story, just that you saw with your eyeballs, of positive action. Because there are things you can do. Now, at night, amid tropical storm gusts with a spin-up tornado threat and torrential rain, still a shelter situation. But to the extent there's ever a break between the rain bands, because we have some, and precious few, boy, we have seen people working hard. And even last night with the bucket trucks, there were tornado warnings active. Those linemen were out and they're trying their best. We community-wise are trying our best to hold the line as well. But if you're far from, I would say just stay put. Stay put for now.
And we're going to have to keep repeating that, I'm sure. But it's a message that we hope to get across to everyone, because folks are still going to keep trying to do that. My parents at first thought they were going to try to come home on Saturday, and then I talked to them yesterday and said, yeah, maybe not till Tuesday. So,
yeah,
and they're
at
hard-headed.
least. And I don't. You mentioned earlier, Kim, they're in Virginia, right?
Yes.
So are they going to try to come down 17 or 95? But either way, there could be disruptions or any sub arteries.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure which. I would imagine 95, but I'm not sure. And then where they go when they got off of 95, I really don't know.
Well, 40 closed yesterday, so about
Yeah.
40's been closed about 18 hours in the Warsaw stretch, and that's not getting any better.
And was that because of high water or
Yes.
debris or both?
Probably both, but yeah,
Okay.
high water and the threat for even higher water.
The Facebook post that I read that I was going to try to read on the air here right now, one of the people said, I got as far as Willard. I don't know where that is in relationship to what you're talking about, but they tried, and once they got to Willard, they tried every possible way to make their way into Wilmington, and it just didn't exist, and they had to turn around and come back on 40.
Yeah.
That's the scenario we find ourselves in. It's not great, and most people are always like, oh, there's got to be a way. And in some cases, there is no way. Not at least anytime soon. There will be, but we have to let the storm pass first, and we have to let whatever's going to happen.
Bill, exactly. Tell me more about that message if you can hear me, because Willard
Sure.
is in Pender County,
Pender County.
northernmost. And so was someone trying to come back into Wilmington, or was someone
Yes.
actually trying to book it out? Okay.
No, someone was trying to come back in. Let me see if I can pull up some of these posts for you. Feel free to talk amongst
Is that
yourselves.
the Northeast Cape Fear River in that area?
And tributaries thereof. This is what we're having right now is both a river flooding and lowland flooding situation. And then the lowland areas that feed the rivers are just going to be, it'll be a slow bleed for the next 2, 3, 4 days. And then we'll gradually just focus on the main stem rivers at that point. And then it will be days and days and days beyond.
Again, in one of the posts says here, Bill, we tried. We're turning around once you pass Warsaw. All roads and side streets are closed. Believe me, we tried all of them. Then someone else writes, we tried every possible route. We plowed through a lot of water. We're in a lifted Denali, which gives you perspective as to how high that truck actually is, that big SUV. We plowed through a lot of water, but we will not take any more risks over the wheels. It's a lot of incredibly flooded areas. Then someone else says, we're going to try again tomorrow. It needs to stop raining for a while. And then someone wrote, we got to Willard on 421 before we had to turn around because of Easter, or I guess this should say water over the road, if that helps perspective for you.
I think that's multiplied everywhere, all across the area. It's
And you know what my takeaway from this is? I've been here 2 years. I grew up on the coast of New Jersey on the shore, been through a lot of storms, but I've always relied on someone else, someone older to be able to take care of the situation. And as an adult now, living through this, and my parents lost everything in Sandy in New Jersey 5 years ago. I had family without power for 5 weeks in Jersey because of Sandy. Is that regardless of whether you tell me or not, I will always have something ready. I was downtown yesterday, people living on the 9th floor of an apartment building being evacuated because of the roof. Those are the last people you would think would be living their lives saying, one day I'm going to be evacuated. And they were gathering, again, their very few belongings. That woman said, it's very difficult, everything I have now is in this bag. Kind of sad, but it's very true. And so I think the takeaway from everybody here is learn from what we're going through right now. That's what makes it great, is we can learn from this for next time. I will always, regardless of whether you tell me to or not, when you tell me, I will have something available. Something silly and stupid when I knew I was going to be here for 5 days without water or a shower or whatever. I was trying to simplify my life, and I was like, flip-flops, they can get wet. Well, guess what? Flip-flops 4 days later, not a good idea. Because you've got debris I've got to worry about. I can't go out and help like people are trying to do to move some things around, because you have to worry about things like that. You got to worry about protecting yourself in some way. We've got people in the hallway here who are sitting down, breathing, going, "I wish I was young again." And that's, you got to take care of yourself. And the time to take care of yourself is not while you're going through it, it's beforehand. And so I think that's a huge takeaway for people, to be able to say, you know what, this has been horrible, but what did we learn from this? So the next time it comes, it's just not so bad.
Right. Do we still have Gabe and Gannon, or
We're here.
we still have Gabe and Gannon?
Yeah, sure.
here. What's up?
Okay.
Bounce questions or whatever you want to see off us.
Well, the one question I guess I had is, when we first got here, we had tornado warning after tornado warning after tornado warning, this peppering us. We've seen, I don't want to jinx this, but we've seen sort of a lull.
A bit
right
of a
now.
relaxation in that
So-
trend. Yeah, I've noticed
So
it too.
why is that? And I know it's not, we hope that it stays like this, but the possibility of several more, that's definitely a possibility. But I didn't know if there was a reasoning behind, why we hadn't seen one in a while.
The short answer is it's because we haven't had any of those rotation points within the tropical rain bands so tight so as to inspire the National Weather Service to hit a warning. That's the short answer of it. We still have areas, and we can go to the velocity scan. And again, let's be thankful where we can be thankful. And I'll be thankful that our local radar is transmitting data, and we can get it into our building as well. I'm going to say a prayer of thanksgiving, I think, probably every hour for this coverage. But here is a look at some of those features. We have one here. I mean, this is the kind of feature that could become a spin-up tornado.
Pop that up.
Right here. And it's moving rapidly northwest like everything else. It's just not quite as tight or as imposing as some of the others. So you want to see that red near the green, or appreciable change in color, which corresponds to an appreciable change in dynamics. So our velocity, remember, Doppler effect has to do with motion. So the radar can tell you what is out there, but it can also tell you, ooh, new scan. Love when we get new scans. It tell you how that stuff is moving and evolving. And here's another one. Here's another hinge point. We've had that veritable turnpike of couplets and rotationals coming right up 421. This may be just a little left of that benchmark, west of that benchmark. If you're seeing the geography, here's Carolina Beach, Bald Head Island, so we're right in the middle there. There is a rotating, at least weekly rotating cloud, Kim and Bill, right over Fort Fisher right now. Not tight enough based on the radar data to cause high alarm, but this is the stuff we're watching. The rivers, we're watching this too. You're absolutely right. That's a great point to bring up. I've got a dedicated computer over here to just like everything, and one of them is these velocity scans. Just so I can watch them myself, and Gabe and Kelly, and we got them on our phone too, and just so we can also refer to if the National Weather Service sends us some stuff, so we can just have that extra. We had to go in the hallway for a couple of these, so
yes.
I had my preferred app on the the thing for velocity, or I had the browser open. I'm just like, whatever you can do. So we'll stay on top of those for sure, and I think we're well positioned with the way our coverage is unfolding. That as soon as a warning is triggered, then we can go live and really focus on that. But the danger is really, it's like water, 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 tornado. Okay, focus on that. But then water. The constant danger is water. We sheltered, Gabe and I, at just a couple of blocks away, 3 or 4, and we just got, it was buckets coming down. There's a video on my Facebook page. I just wanted to document it to show people what's going on. And early in the video, like we're driving, and he's got the wipers on full blast, and he goes, tree, and he just gives a little jerk of the wheel to the left to avoid the tree. And I think, Gabe, you even said aloud, that wasn't there when we came by yesterday.
No, it wasn't.
So that was a new fallen tree. Mm-hmm. And then we got to the intersections, which we're treating as 4-way stops. So I guess technically we were breaking curfew, yes. But I mean, we're trying to do the coverage. We had to leave the building here, so, but we saw the bucket trucks going the other way. I mean, that's what it's like right now in downtown Wilmington. That was 2 hours ago, but I can confidently say that's what it's like right now based on the radar that's going on as well.
I think as we were driving through, also, I think we had just passed an independent. And again, to relieve Eric and Kelly and Jesslyn so they can go home and sleep and come back. Only reason we're out on the roads to begin with. It was just one of those cases where we drove past Independence and Shipyard, and as we came to the stop, went past it, the traffic lights went out again.
That signal that you guys are coming on, you can see, but there were a couple intersections that I came on where there were no signals, and you didn't even know you were at an intersection.
Yeah, and us too. So we had one that was out. This one was electrified. That one was not yesterday. So that is the hat tip to the crews that are trying to, where they can, spot treat these power outages. I panned to the left. You can see some uprooted trees. That was from Friday morning. Also, a couple more things about this. We are plowing through water. I wouldn't say we were driving over quote-unquote water-covered roads or rushing water, but there's at least, like, in a lot of spots, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches of ponded water. And that's in a lot of cases because even if this roadway isn't going to quote-unquote go under or totally flood, it's going to be hazardous because the drains are just clogged with everything that the winds initially brought down Thursday into Friday. One thing that's just like, oh my goodness, I looked at yesterday when we were driving to the shelter during daylight. Some of the storm drains are clogged by flowers from the cemetery, the nearby cemetery. You could see the items that people had placed on the gravestones of their loved ones, blown by the wind, so that was just like, you just had to look at that and be like, that's heavy.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it's just you name an item of debris that, despite efforts to clear storm drains and give ourselves the best option for success going into the storm, you know, the initial winds and rain banding just brought stuff down, and it is just like, it seemed like cake batter to me. That's what I like it into. It's almost just like what you, it's a thick mash of pine needles, twigs, ground up leaves, just as the smallest part, almost like if you try to put a potato down a garbage disposer. It's like it won't happen. It'll just turn into a mush. And that's what's preventing every last, in my estimation, storm drain from doing its job. So even, it's just compounding. It's compounding.
Yeah, I think I kind of liken it to hair in the drain of your shower or something to make it stuck and keeps that water from flowing out of your bathtub. I say that because to get ready for the storm, I cleaned my bathtub and pulled out a large hunk of hair from my girlfriend. Hope she's not listening, but nonetheless.
TMI.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things.
Everybody has a different hurricane plan.
Yeah, there you go, right? So I filled the bathtub to make sure.
You would know the water table better than I would, but I saw that to give people the example of what I did earlier in the day, in the daylight about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, is I did like a giant lollipop, and if I drove down 17th, if I'm giving you good visual perspective, I drove down 17th to downtown and then did a loop down into the downtown area, then drove up to the MLK, up to College, and came back around. That was my big loop, and then came back out. I noticed people weren't paying attention to the traffic signals. There were none, and a lot of people were not remembering the four-way stop. If they were on Oleander, they were just plowing. If they were on South College, they were just plowing. But I'm also not familiar enough with the water table because we got down through Princess, and you've got the cemetery back there, you've got the memorial cemetery there, and then you've also got this older cemetery in the back. A lot of water back in there. That was very high. And I don't know whether there's water back there or because trees are down, it's blocking water with all the rain. But again, was surprised by that because I was trying to close my eyes going, what water is running all the way back into this neighborhood, and wasn't able to tell that. but that's what we're seeing a lot. Very deep water in places that, as you said, may not normally see that for the very first time.
Yeah, great perspective there. And I think to answer your question that you put, is probably a compilation of everything. And just while we're talking about the last thing I want to mention about going out, breaking curfew, taking a risk, is in the 2 minutes that we had left, I'll say 2, it's probably 4. We took our time, but a matter of minutes between our dry shelter and where we are here at the station was a new tornado warning had been issued for our area. So when we pulled up, we get to the door and someone says, "We're sheltering." And I'm like, okay, I didn't get the alert. There was that too. You know, there's sometimes the signal goes out. I sent you a text yesterday, and it was like undeliverable. You know, lonely feeling there. When
Exactly.
And then we think of an alert trying to find you, and then we could have been out on the road, and a tornado could have touched down on us. These are calculated risks that you take, and I guess the message is minimize the risk that you're taking in every way possible. And our advice would be to shelter where you are. Don't try to go out, period, on that.
And that's important to stress even after the fact, because I know we were sheltered and huddled and praying and doing all those things like a lot of people, as you said, hey, be careful along Carolina Beach Boulevard down towards Shipyard. And then that alert ended, and we were like, we're good to go. Now, there are people who live along there who may have heard that now go, well, what are the chances of this happening twice? Let me get out and do it. Let me go sightsee and see what's happening in the neighborhood, whether this thing touched down or not. And again, that's a false sense of security people really need to realize.
Back-to-back warnings. That's a great point. We've had them. I fear that we may have a couple of other instances like that.
I've got 2 questions. One, we did have the confirmed touchdown in Silver Lake. Have you seen any reports of any kind of damage? I know you've got I don't know if it's a weather service chat.
Yeah, while we're talking, I need to...
We haven't been able to send a crew out there. It's just too messy right now.
Did you say confirmed touchdown in Silver Lake? Confirmed. Okay. Again, things are flying so fast.
Well, that was before you guys got here. And then my other question, I know we knew this risk was possible, either, Organ and Gabe, are you surprised at the level, how many of them we have seen and how quickly they have come in those back-to-back situations?
No, because the warning, the canary in our coal mine was New Bern.
Yep.
They got everything first because this thing came directly out of the east. They got the surge first, they got the flooding first, they had tornado warnings up toward that part of the state first. And then so everything is just like as slow as you could ever grind it out, shifting west. And then now each of these hazards are just becoming our turn.
Yeah.
And I think our first tornado warnings were on our shift yesterday.
They were. They were
around midday.
Yeah. Northern Pender up into Duplin, Onslow counties.
Yeah.
Just a little after 11, and then it lasts until about 12:15. So, and we actually covered one that was probably a little more out of market, but there are still those that are watching us beyond our broadcast capabilities online that are in that path that need to be alerted to that. So we knew the writing was on the wall for that. And we, shift to shift, we're having a quick powwow while you guys may be talking or sharing other stories and everything. And we are, we're in the midst of talking about all of this, and it's okay. Hey, it's been quiet here, but it looks like things may pick up for your shift or your shift. And I guess pleasantly surprised that things were a little calmer yesterday. As in, we didn't have as many, but
we had breaks.
We had breaks.
Yeah.
Kelly, Eric, Jesslyn, the afternoon shift and overnight, they got the brunt of it. We're still in that potential though, so knock on wood, quiet now, but the potential's still there, so we're still very much on guard.
Well, this is the scariest time to have is when people are sleeping. Bill didn't hear the alert. A lot of people don't even have their phones on right now because they don't want to get every other notification about a text message, or they don't want a phone call to interrupt their sleep. So the scariest time is right now when everyone is asleep.
But WECT weather app, tornado warning alerts, those should be toggled on and your volume turned way up for that. So you can customize alerts and tones. I want to read this. And Kelly, you posted this to NWS chat before. We didn't have a chance This is not the violin, but we didn't have a chance to do our normal like shift handoff powwow because we were in the hallway for a tornado warning. So,
right.
But Kelly's still here working diligently on social and digital. But let me read this quote. My friend, this is from Marsh Oaks. My friend.
Sent to me, Ryan Carrasco told me this.
Okay, so our chief photographer Ryan Carrasco to Kelly into the NWS as testimony of how this stuff goes down. My friend says they heard the tornado warning about 8:30, and then almost immediately heard what she described as a 747 flying right by her house. Said her family got in a closet, their ears popped, they felt a rush, the house shook, then it was over. She
Wow.
had some damage on her back porch. Neighbors said her boat is now across the street. That's how fast this occurs.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, if this is verified, I mean, through the, can you imagine coming back and trying to document this in terms of, but someone from the National Weather Service will probably go out and try to, for verification purposes, so we can get better. It's like,
Mhm.
you know, that kind of thing. But they'll say, okay, well, warning came here, this report came here. This family had lead time. It was just a tiny little bit. She said almost immediately, but they got into the closet, and then the ears popping, felt a rush. I don't know what that means, but you can kind of get the sense of what that means. I mean, maybe something kind of just like the house kind of breathed a little bit, and then a boat that wasn't in a backyard anymore, but across the street when it was over. That tornado probably touched down and just lifted right in that spot.
And, you know, us coming in today, we talked about the heavy rain getting in, but by the time we crossed Carolina Beach to Shipyard, things got eerily quiet.
Yeah.
It turned out we were in the midst of that tornado warning. It was heading kind of our direction.
Yes.
When we got out of the car, things were quiet, but you could hear what sounded like either a train or a little bit of a rumble coming through. So at that point, you know, we're booking it inside because we're hearing, hey, you know, we're taking shelter, get in here.
Yeah. And I didn't consider that because I was so focused on, you know, you were so focused on driving to the station. I was so focused, let's get our things into the station while we have a break in the rain. But those hinge points in these bands where rainfall rates materially change, those are a lot of times those points co-located with that rotation where there's something a little extra going on. And yeah, I pointed to the truck. I'm like, Gabe, look what's coming out over there. I forget who yelled out of the building. We're sheltering right now.
Yeah.
And here we are in a car. So, but you know, we had to get here, of course. So, and everything worked out okay. And I haven't heard of anything locally. When I say locally, I mean within a few blocks of our area that verified. But that's just another piece of testimony. Let's call it like that, Kim and Bill. We're issuing pieces of testimony of how harrowing it may be to try to get from point A to point B, especially at night.
And our actually, my driveway is kind of in that same boat. So it's, you know, I ventured out during the day just to see if, you know, my place is okay, but my drive is underwater. So I'm at the point now where, you know, getting back to my house is not going to be possible until that water recedes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks are finding that. And I'm not saying that to play the fiddle, but a lot of folks are going to find themselves in that position, and that's why staying put is the best way to do it. These crews coming out have a chance to go clear the lines, do whatever they need to do, get the trees off the road. If folks are out trying to, you know, go about daily business, that kind of inhibits in some cases that ability because there are more cars on the road, more dangers to keep track of. So, you know, that's why you have that hurricane plan in place. For the aftermath, if you will, we're still in the thick of it. So there's, you know, we can't really call it the aftermath. But for situations like this, where you're on the backside of the storm and you're getting heavy rain and flooding, spin-up tornadoes, that's certainly part of the storm where you've got to hunker down in place.
Great point. A kit and a plan involves having some insurance for disruptions well after, you know. And Kim, you asked the question, why maybe are we having a lull? I know our coverage is reaching local areas and regional and beyond right now. So if anything, but this may speak to that. We got what's called a discussion from the Storm Prediction Center it's based in Norman, Oklahoma. So they do severe weather. That's their bread and butter. So this is kind of technical, but stuff we're looking at this morning. Recent regional radar imagery shows a well-defined largely stationary rain band extending from Fayetteville south and east through Wilmington and then south-southeast offshore. Well, we can check that box on the radar. This came out a little bit ago. It's still there. Lightning has also been a more regular occurrence in these cells in past few nights. So you're noticing the flashes, indicating a somewhat stronger convective structure for this rain band than last night. That tells me stronger updrafts, perhaps more focused tornadoes. Given the relative similarities between the thermodynamic environments the past few nights, one factor likely contributing to this more robust convection is stronger convergence at the surface. Surface convergence, okay. That being said, a marginal thermodynamic environment, temperature, humidity, continues to temper what could otherwise be a more robust tornado threat. The most supportive environment still remains across Brunswick and New Hanover counties, where slightly better low-level moisture contributes to more lift. So that's why, Kim, as we keep our focus on the velocity here, that's why we're seeing, I think this is evidence. These little areas where something could be trying to tighten up. One right here certainly has my attention. This is over Orton Plantation, and I'll just extend it to the northwest toward the Funston community. This is not a tornado-warned cell, but I can tell you categorically there is twisting going on above the trees on Orton Plantation just north of Sunny Point on 133.
So I've always wondered how you, when you look at that and what you're showing us right now, how you see twisting. It's because there's a space there?
Because, oh, you,
like a black hole?
Yeah, that's cool. Because the velocity is, and the scale is kind of, it's tucked in toward the top because we want to see the data, but the Doppler radar has the ability to say, okay, something's moving relatively toward the radar and something's moving away from the radar. So there's a little inflection point there. There's a little, just like when you start to spin a top, you need to kind of move your thumb and your index finger sort of in opposite directions. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I'm trying to say? So you just try to spin anything. You just, so you have something opposing another thing. And that's what the radar is resolving right there. And if you look at the radar long enough, like all of us have, it's just like there. You know what I mean? Just like someone who announces a football game can see a penalty call more than an average observer. So we're just kind of zooming in. We're zooming in according to what we see. And the National Weather Service is, oh, believe it, watching this hawkishly as well. And they're the ones that pull the trigger on official warnings. But we watch it too, because we like to either give a first alert when we think it's a very strong possibility the warning is going to be issued, or we like to be able to co-sign on what they're saying.
Right, okay.
Big picture-wise, when we're looking at band, we talked earlier yesterday, I assume now, this is not a night or day event. You're not more at heightened risk at night than you are during the day. So people can't say right now, oh, if we can just get through this next 4 hours, we'll be all right. What are we looking at, big picture, as you're looking at that big swirling, cone's not the right word, this big swirling mass as to where we are and where it's going now? You set up the Ohio Valley.
Big picture, it's a great question. Always good to look at that. Is I think we're seeing the first seeds of ultimately an acceleration of the storm out of here. And when I say just the first signs of this, it really is. It's going to be still a process from here, but the storm is moving at 6 miles an hour when it was 3 miles an hour. And that is almost a laughably small silver lining. But it is part of the narrative that says, okay, this ridge of high pressure, like we use another football analogy for a brief moment, like a blocker, you know, just stop. That ridge of high pressure is starting. I know, I have that in the back of my mind.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm going to do that to remind myself it's Sunday, because we've all been talking about it, the days running together. But this ridge is going to be broken down a little bit, and it will allow Florence an alleyway by which to curve to the northwest and then eventually north toward the Ohio Valley. It's early inklings of that process to begin. But right now, night and a good portion of the day, this focused band, or sometimes it splits and they move and there's little like wave breaks in it, but this general situation, let's say that, is going to be here for the rest of this night and into the day tomorrow. Sunday night, Monday, it breaks up a little bit. Kim and Bill, our flow's still south by that time, though. So
Okay.
it's not like when Matthew moved through. When Matthew moved through, it approached from the south, and then it kind of dissipated and scooted to the east. And I remember that opened the floodgates for a fresh October, open the windows, you know, kind of quality air mass.
I do remember
We had
that.
70s during the day and 50s at night, and it was sunny, and it was just what we needed to recover from the horrible situation that Matthew brought. Florence is just the endless trail of insults that she's hurling at us will not leave us in that situation, because even as the center moves up toward the Ohio Valley, we'll still be to its south, and we'll kind of get this tropical feel for a while. And consequently weather as such, pop-up showers and storms. They may just not be as focused as they are right now.
That's good perspective to know.
I know. It is. I'm glad that he actually said we're starting to see possibly the end, but we're still looking at what, 24, 48 hours?
Depending on how you measure it, because the flooding and the legacy flooding of the rivers is going to be so much longer than that. But yeah, we're just starting to push on the refrigerator. Now we've got to finish and top it over.